me. We've got the great panel of people. Elizabeth, come over with me here. We've got, not only do we have Joey Jackson, a noted defense counsel, to break it all down for us and how it all plays out. We've also got Stacey Schneider as well here to give how all this works. And Jeremy Saland also here with us today. Wow, we have got so much information that we were all waiting to hear about. The day is finally here. It's the first day. The jury is in front of them. Let me tell you, being inside that courtroom to finally see how Diddy looked and how he'd respond to the jury, it was something really to see. Joey, prosecutors are focusing heavily on Cassie Ventura. Also somebody with a pseudonym as well, who they refer to as Jane. But she is the linchpin of this case.
No question about it. And there's a number of ways to look at that, right? From a defense perspective, remember that this was a long-term relationship. And so, from the perspective of a long-term relationship, the wild card is, does she come in there motivated to hurt him, or does she have feelings for him, and that becomes apparent in her testimony, and it's not as aggressive and vehement as to him being this monster that the prosecution is pointing him out to be. The other issue, right, that we're looking at is this whole big question about consent versus coercion. That's what they need. And so to the extent that, yes, I agree, she's pregnant, and as a result of that, you know, you as a defense attorney don't want to be too severe on her because there's some sensitivities, but there's certainly information to elicit. And one of the bits of information is, as we've heard today, whether she was consenting to this and seemingly enjoying the encounter, whether she was a full participant in it, whether she was doing so because she was having a good time and that was their lifestyle. Final point. I think the defense is going to argue that we're here because a person's sex life is on trial. This is not about the issue of immorality or judgments or how people or what they do in their bedroom. This is about criminality. Was he really building an empire, being an icon to a community simply to satisfy himself sexually? Or was this just a byproduct of consenting people who lived freaky lives? And that'll be the narrative, I think, propagated by the defense.
In fact, their defense really is that this was a relationship and that you as a juror are not supposed to sit in judgment or of his moral character, but instead of the crimes that he was charged with. And one of the things we saw is that video, Jeremy. They didn't just play it like once in court and then walked away from it. It was played, they stopped it, they restarted it again and again and again. Diddy was looking forward, not looking at the video that was being shown to him. His kids looked away at different times. Is the prosecution making a smart choice to really hone in and play that?
They're leading out with a huge hit. And I mean, that's really shooting off right out of the gate. And it's important that they do that because they're not only sort of, for lack of a better term, dirtying up Diddy, but they're really establishing the theme of this, which is this is not about consent. This is about control. And they can say what they want, meaning the defense. This is about domestic violence. I mean, you may not want him to date your daughter or your sister, and you may not like him as a person, but he's not on trial for being your best friend. He's not on trial for being a great a partner. But they're leading with the theme that this is control. And if you're going to hear from her and you're going to hear from these other women, you're going to find out that it was the same theme time and time again. I've got the power. I'll use my fist. I'll use my money. I'll throw things at you. I'll call you names. I will take you down. You do what I want you to do. And you later heard from one of those witnesses about how urinating in her mouth while Diddy was there allegedly masturbating. I mean, you're talking some pretty heinous, serious things, and they came out of the gate with it. And I think what's also important, last but not least on this point, is the defense can't run from it. They have to embrace it, for lack of a better term. I may be a bad guy in these ways, but I did not commit these crimes.
They didn't just run from it. I mean, they almost came out of the gate. I mean, they took the wind really out of the sail of anyone being able to say, oh, they don't want you to know about this. I mean, Stacey Garagos, who did the opening statement in this, by the way, and I thought it was a really fluid, almost a defense self-aware moment of, I can't run from this. And this is what she said. What Combs did to Cassie on this videotape is indefensible. It's horrible. It's dehumanizing. It's violent. It's virtually every bad word you can think of, but it is not evidence of sex trafficking. They even said they're going to own this, and they're saying they will defend him as long as no one else tries not to own or take accountability for what their part was. That's powerful.
It is powerful because they're basically, the defense is adopting that he's an alleged domestic abuser. And the only charges in this case, there are federal charges. It's sex trafficking, it's transporting prostitutes across state lines, and there's and racketeering, which is the biggest one. And they're saying that
Could get life if that's convicted.
Yes, and if convicted of all those charges, a minimum of 15 years, up to life in prison. The racketeering throws this over the top. But they're alleging that he's running a criminal enterprise through all of his businesses. Bad Boy Entertainment, they've named all the companies in the indictment. Bad Boy, his spirits line, his clothing lines, his recording companies. And they're saying he's using the resources and the employees of these businesses to coerce women into these sexual acts. So when we see that video, which, as Jeremy mentioned, they came out hard hitting the prosecution. The first witness in this case, they bring out that video through the witness. And once the jury sees that, they cannot unsee that type of violence. So they have this image of Combs being this violent offender just from that video. So the defense needs to own every morsel of that, but also drive home throughout the entire trial. He's charged with racketeering. This is a mafia type of charge. This is not a domestic violence case.
Well, you know, and that they made the point that he's not charged with that in federal court, obviously, right? But they also had these witnesses. The first one was the former security guard who was the first to respond to a woman in distress. They tried to undercut his testimony as to cross-examination, suggesting that in that incident report that he filed alongside of it did not involve law enforcement and excluded some facts that 9 years later he remembered with specificity. That's the tactic?
Well, that's a big deal. You're going to talk about he had this devilish look on his face. Well, if he did, why not put it in your incident report at the time? But now, 9 years later, you remember that? And by the way, what about the purple eye? That would be a significant thing. You want to be fair. You want to be accurate. You want to be truthful. That's not there either. And by the way, this was so alarming to you, and you're an officer now, but you didn't call the officers then. And with respect to the videotape, here's my concern for prosecutors, quite frankly. When you play something over and over, you desensitize people to it, right? And so the reality is keep playing it, keep playing it. The more you play it, the more you desensitize. Now, does it make what he did right? Does it make it just? Does it make it appropriate? But does it make him running a criminal enterprise? Is there evidence on there? Please show me where it talks about the tape itself, sex trafficking. Does it say on the tape prostitution? Does it suggest that you're running a criminal enterprise? So you take the desensitization of the video and you take what it establishes that he's a bad dude. We're not here to talk about him being bad. We're here to talk about him being a criminal. Yeah. That's what they have to show.
Jeremy, I'll bring you back in here in a second. But Elizabeth, you know, you and I were sitting there. I was watching to figure out how his children were going to view this. I mean, we've all been very familiar with this video, as you are as well. He had his children in the room. He had about 14 family members. His mother was there as well. At certain points during the testimony of Daniel Phillips, his daughters left the courtroom during the discussion about sexual activity and the allegation that their father was watching.
Look, no matter what anyone is accused of, they're still a human being. And I think by seeing his entire family in the courtroom, I'm not a defense attorney, but I'm sure that Joey Jackson would say that was a very smart tactic to have his family there. I spoke to a source yesterday who told me they are all going to be there. They're putting on a united front. They're all holding on to faith. Sean Combs is holding on to faith. He's excited to finally tell his side of the story in court. But you remember that he is a father. He has 7 children. His youngest child is a 2-year-old daughter. She was the only one not there because she'd be crying in court, but his 3 teenage daughters, they all left when that male sex worker was testifying. And you could understand why. Even if the defense is saying this is not criminal behavior, who wants to listen to allegations of their father paying a sex worker to have sex with his then girlfriend while he's watching in the corner and pleasuring himself? I mean, that is just a bridge too far for any child.
A woman they've known for a large part of their life, right? Because they had a more than decade-long relationship. Stay with me, everyone. We've got so much more to unpack, including